again. I'd like to reconvene the public session. Will the city attorney report on actions taken in closed session?
Yes, the city council discussed those matters listed on the agenda, and there are no overall actions.
Thank you, John. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Bash, and then if you remain standing for the invocation by Pastor Dick Hillary. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening, thank you. When I first moved here in 2008, I moved to a city called Corona. I was very quickly corrected and said it's not Corona, it's Norco. Now I find out I live in Eastvale. I'd like to find out where I live. Except that I would like to say that I am ecstatically happy to live where I do, because I have found this neighborhood, this town, is patriotic and spiritual to the point where I really love it. And I have to tell you, it's not so in too many of these places. And so I'm honored to be able to be a part of this organization. I'm very much honored. And I want to thank Michelle for inviting me and for you allowing me. Blessed is the man who walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season, and his leaf shall not wither nor falter. And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. I choose to believe that the magnificent spirit of this church, of this town, has to do with what is in the apparent heart of its leadership. And so, Father, I ask that you very strongly bless and empower every leader in this town, that the example that it sets for all other states and nations will somehow ring so true that once again we don't have to say, I live where there doesn't seem to be any spirituality. I love this town. Father, I ask you to bless it in every conceivable way, and may everyone in this council, may everyone in this city walk in the paths of righteousness in a magnificent honor. And I thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you for your service. Okay, we're going to have a presentation by Jim Burnett and the California High School Rodeo Association. Gentlemen, ladies.
Hi, I'm Jim Burnett, President of District 8 California High School Rodeo Association. I want to give you guys a quick Reader's Digest version on what we are. High school rodeos for kids in 6th grade through 12th. Grades 6th, 7th, and 8th is our junior high division. 9th through 12th is our high school division. High School Rodeo is a national non-profit organization in 47 states, the provinces of Canada and Australia. We are District 8. We have members from Mule, which is down by San Diego, all the way up to Lancaster. California has 9 districts that send their top 5 kids in each event to state finals, which is in Bishop, California, to compete for the top 4 spots in the state to go to nationals. This year our national finals is in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Our junior highs already had their state finals in Red Bluff, California, and District 8 was honored. We sent 6 kids to the nationals for the junior high division in Lebanon, Tennessee. They're all leaving Monday, and it's the following week, so they got a big journey ahead of them. Besides rodeo, our members must be enrolled in school, maintain good grades, and have good behavior. If we get bad letters from councils or anything, they're out. No fighting. We've got the best kids in the world. If you come to one of our rodeos, you'll never hear so many yes sirs, yes ma'am, no ma'am, Mr. Burdette. We've got great kids. They have to turn in report cards quarterly to show they're making grades to be eligible to rodeo. In closing, Patty Ireland has been a pleasure to work with. Ingalls Park is a great facility, and it's only possible with friends and families and members donating. Any help the city could do with us for our rodeos up there would be fantastic. We were going to be there this year, I believe. This season, our season runs September through June. We'll be up there 3 times this year, so we're really excited about that. It's a great facility. So at this time, I want to introduce, I've got our student board here, and we have a couple members in high school rodeo. We have a board, and we let the kids run it. We have secretary, vice president, president. We have kids actually in charge, event directors, trying to teach them responsibility. They have a budget. Obviously, it's overseen by parents, but we let them work this stuff out, teach them responsibility and everything. It's a great organization.
Hi, I'm Gracie Beth Sutton, and I have been in California High School Rodeo Association for 1 year.
Hi, I'm Corey Burdette, and I've been in the high school rodeo for 4 years now.
Any relation?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Hi, my name is Dakota Boyce, and I've been in this association for 3 years, and I'm a freshman.
Hi, my name is Bennett McComas. I'm District 8's Vice President, and I have been in lovely District 8 for 4 years now.
Hi, my name is Wyatt Sutton, and I've been in District 8 for 4 years now, and I am the Student Board President. And I wanted to come and thank you guys for keeping that facility nice. Everybody loves it, and we wanted to give you guys some plaques to show our appreciation.
I was, but you know, I'd like you to come down there with me. Well, you're already here, buddy. Okay. Don't hesitate. You want to?
You know,
Send this. Go ahead, Ted.
one of the good things, and I've been involved with rodeo for a long time, is these kids, when we put the stalls up there, corrals up there, they at least clean them and appreciate that. And I really, you guys take good care of everything up there for us too. So when we say you know, we want you there more, I'm totally for that, because that's what it's all about. That you're a future of our rodeo industry. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate you keeping it clean up there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You gotta give a big yee-haw on your way out.
Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to city council business, city council communications, reports on regional boards and commissions. Kevin?
I have several things. First off, WRCOG. It turns out that the contract cities issue, which I'm sure Andy knows more than I do, but the contract cities in which they were trying to force cities to do away with contract labor and hire. Cities have been exempt. It did pass. Counties are not exempt. I don't quite know what the ramifications, but essentially what it means is we can continue pretty much as we are, but I'm kind of hoping Andy's going to be able to do a report on that sometime in the near future. What is still up in the air, and I think that we should take a position on it even stronger than we have, is the idea that the state of California would control cell sites and put them wherever they want. So for example, when we voted down a cell site that an entire neighborhood was against, we would not be able to do that. Anybody can apply, and we would have no control, no jurisdiction, we'd make no money on it. Medical marijuana, I'm confused by it because federal government says it's illegal, but the state of California is just moving headlong to find ways to allow it. It's something that I think we need to keep an eye on. I'm sure Eric, I would assume. TUMF. TUMF is also something, we had a very good meeting today where we were essentially told, and Andy can jump in on this, it appears that the bridge has been funded via the latest legislation, and they are now programming the money toward the widening of Hamner. But there are some steps we have to take, and what I'm kind of going to ask Andy to do is that we really move on that. And I'm sure we will. Andy was at the meeting today. The HERO program is something else. They would like to do a presentation, not on the HERO program, I'm sorry, one of the stats that was interesting about the HERO program that I thought you guys might be interested in. And for those that don't know, the HERO program is essentially making your home more energy efficient in a way that doesn't cost you a whole lot of money depending on what your oh shoot, I can't find it. Depending on what your income is. And it had some pretty good stats, so I'm going to sort of say them off the top of my head, which I probably shouldn't do, but just in case. There's been, what was it, Andy? I guess 400 some. Oh, you have it, good. I think it's very interesting, the stat. Oh, Norco, here it is. 397 homes have been approved. There's been jobs created 89. They've funded just in Norco $10.4 million. Applications submitted. Applications approved 720, so they're all in process. Energy saved 78.8 million kilowatts. Emissions reduced 21.4 tons. Water saved 24.6 million gallons. So it's been an incredibly successful program. So that's something that I think we should actually be proud of. Norco's really taking advantage of it. And then another piece that they talked today, and they've been talking to us at WRCOG, is the community aggregation program. I don't know how much this will apply, but essentially what that means is we would set up a joint group that would purchase our electricity. We'd essentially become our own electric company, except that we would purchase it through Edison. They would continue to service the lines and do all those kinds of things. I think what they would like to do is they would like to come do a presentation for council, and I think Andy said that he would set that up. The RCA, I'd hope to have books like this for everybody here, but this is a really incredible book that I wish we could get to all the residents about how to kind of do drought-resistant plants and stuff. It's put out by the Western Regional Water Board, and fantastic book. The GG, I sit on that advisory board for the funding of the bonds, and I just thought it might be interesting for people to know that essentially in every school in Norco, we now have security cameras. One of the downsides of the security cameras is they don't always, they're not nighttime lit, but whenever there's a problem, what they do is they put an extra light there. Very shortly, or maybe already now online, they couldn't tell me that. Every security camera now has a central location which you can look at every single school. All the fencing upgrades have been done in every single school, and literally millions of dollars in the GG grant have finished that up. Highland, Norco Elementary is 10% complete. If you want to kind of see something pretty cool, watch that school go up. It looks really, really like it's going to be a wonderful school. It's a big problem right now traffic-wise, but it seems like people are getting through it pretty good. Norco Intermediate will be the next school that started, and that's going to be very exciting to see that school going up. The other thing that's been done in every single Norco school is the classroom drops. Those are the projectors that have come down. They put in projectors, speakers, wall mounts, and whiteboards. So literally every single school has been upgraded. Now I've heard from some of the teachers that were not my classroom, so one of the things I'm looking at is trying to find out why there's sort of a schism. I'm sure that Ted will tag team off of this, but ICSC was incredibly, in my opinion, successful. I'm sure Ted won't say this, but he manned the booth for 2 days, and he was nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, he was just energetic, and he really had it down. And then the rest of us We just toured with R.J. Brandis the first day, Andy, and Steve King and Roger. Frankly, everywhere we went, everybody wants to hear about Silver Lakes. And I think that there's some things that are in the works, but I think that in coming months, people, well, truthfully, I was shocked. And I think in coming months, I think people are going to be very impressed with what we're bringing home. And then to sort of more fun stuff, I attended today Taylor Dawkins' surprise, where she was told that she is not only the state Gatorade softball player of the year, but and there's 50 of them, she is actually the Gatorade national softball player of the year. They pick one. And to let you, I mean, LeBron James was one of those. I mean, it's just Peyton Manning was one of those. And then in a couple of months, she gets to go to a huge to-do in Los Angeles where they choose the athlete of the Gatorade. That's from all 50 states. They choose one person. And she is very impressive. As you probably know, she's a cancer survivor. And what's really interesting is it's possible we may be the only high school. They think there might be 3, but they think there may not be. We're the only school to have national Gatorade Players of the Year. We had Matt Hopgood and we had Taylor. For a little town like Norco, that is absolutely incredible. So I'm very, very proud of that, and it was fun to see the girls. As you all know, they got robbed in the last game. No, I'm just kidding. But they did. They got robbed. You know what? Taylor has a strike zone that she never throws anything in the middle. She throws it on the corners. And if you get an umpire that doesn't know what a corner is, you're in deep trouble. So anyway, but they ended up 33-1, and they're just a phenomenal group of girls. They've all got full rides going all over the country, and I'm very proud of them. And then finally, Shay Anderson, as you probably all know, set 2 state records in track and field. The only person that beat her was the Gatorade Track and Field Person of the Year last year. Beat her by 1 step in one of the races. So I think that she actually would have been considered for track and field's Gatorade Player of the Year. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Ted?
Well, I'm wearing my Norco baseball cap because, like Kevin, I'm proud of my alma mater. But we started off at high school graduation and listening to Principal Ibbotson, and I know Robin was there naturally, along with Kevin and I. A lot of pride. You can see it in the parents. You see it in those that attend up there, the alumni that show up, that go to the graduation, and along with the students. Robin, my hat's off to you, because there's a bunch of good kids. You teachers are doing a good job up there. The amount of accolades and things that this year's graduating class brought, and it's just impressive when Principal Ibbotson was reading off all the accomplishments in there. So Norco parents, you did good. We're going to change it a little bit. We had our executive committee for the George A. Ingalls Memorial, Veterans Memorial. And I want to thank everyone that helped at the Memorial Day celebration. We honored those who served and gave the ultimate sacrifice that day. Again, special thanks to the junior ROTC from the high school, and our new addition was the junior Marines. Those kids did excellent in the 21-gun salute, and I'm not going to belabor all the effort it took to get us to do it, but let me tell you, they did. You would think they'd done this for 20 years together. Those kids just put it together in the last minute of the week. So again, for those who showed up and showed support, for all of our people and for all those who served, and those who have lost persons that serve, thank you. It's credit. I was told, we just had our meeting the other day, so I'm going to pre-warn my fellow council members. We're going to be looking to do something up there for the Gold Star Mothers Memorial, and also the POW MIAs up here in the near future. So as you see something come across the dais, don't get upset. We're going to try to get it donated and paid for that way. All right, so then what else we got? May 25th, Councilwoman Grunmeyer and myself met with Animal Control over a biosecurity program to be used up there at Ingalls and citywide. Hopefully, this is just a start. It's nothing scary. We just want to have a plan in action. And I was talking to Frankie last night, and he's working on it. So that way we don't have anything that, if something does happen, we have a plan, and that's the whole point. As far as LAFCO meeting that was held in May, nothing to report that affects the city. I don't see Chad here, but RICWA meeting was canceled for us. Thank you again, Mayor Newton, for putting me on that board.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. And then, again, another kudos to Robin and everyone up there. And I know, Berwin, you sit on the FFA board. What a good bunch of kids. And after sitting and doing interviews for scholarships, again, you can be proud, Robin, and I'm going to make your head swell. But I can tell, and if Sergeant Spratley was here, I'd tell him the same thing. The kids that you interview for scholarships that go through the FFA program and the junior ROTC program, they've got it down. They're very well, they know how to answer questions, they're very articulate, they've been through it, and I think that kudos to you and your staff for making them aware of the interview process. Also attended at Silver Lakes the Norco Posse's Queen coronation, was there for a short time before the banquet. Again, phenomenal bunch of kids doing the things that we want our kids to do. They're participating, and they're good citizens. And then June 3rd, and I know Debbie, what did she tell us, Debbie? This is a nationally recognized barbecue. We're like Brew and Q. The barbecue here at Norco, and for those you know, is on the top 10 in the nation that people are coming to. We had a group from Australia come here. So if you didn't make it out to the Brew and Q on June 3rd, boo-hoo to you, because you missed a good time, okay, and good food. And then later that night, along with my fellow colleagues, we all went to T-ball. And again, it's so great to see kids doing stuff. So I'm very proud of them. And then I'm going to wait until on the City Council consent items to talk about the international conference. I'll have Roger do a recap, but it's no vacation to go there, stand. And I do appreciate standing in the booth because my knees can't handle walking on all that concrete. Thank you.
You weren't at the sports bar? The what? Robin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the memorial at Ingalls Memorial. Thank you to the executive committee and everyone that put that on. It was a wonderful ceremony. I was also able to attend the ceremony at Crestlawn. Very good ceremony. I wish it was better attended. Our attendance blew theirs out of the water by a lot. Very, very good speakers at their ceremony. So that was a nice way to spend the afternoon. I was also able, along with the mayor, to attend the last Youth Advisory Council meeting for that particular group of students as they went out and completed their term on that council. That group had a tough job because they were doing something nobody had done before. And so to a certain extent, I feel like they felt a little bit defeated in the fact that they weren't able to see some of their stuff come to fruition. But they have definitely laid a foundation for the groups that come after them to get some of the projects done. And I know for sure one or two of those things, like the Youth and Government Day and some of those things, are definitely going to happen and are opportunities for upcoming groups. So that was a good evening with them. Also went to the Brewing Q. I waved to the mayor as he made an announcement. I was working with my students at that event. It's an event that we volunteered at since its inception, and it was good to see a very, very large group up there by the afternoon. Unload meeting also took place. It was our last one. Again, that kind of coincides with the school year. A few things for next year. We will be looking to try and get out to back to school nights and open houses and those things with some of our resources to share with parents. If we want to get to parents, which is what we want to do, we need to go to them. So I'll be looking to grab some committee members and anybody else that would be interested in joining, going out to schools for back to school nights and open houses to get those resources to parents where they need to be. And the City and Schools Committee meeting also took place since our last meeting. We were able to talk to them about some access to high school facilities for recreational purposes and the some issues between the school district facilities and the city hall facilities and doing some work jointly as far as security, parking lots, those types of things. Always a good meeting. And the biosecurity meeting was good, and we have a good start there, like Ted had said earlier. And then was able to attend a resident meeting with Lieutenant Bredick and some of his staff to go over some concerns that a neighborhood had, which was really eye-opening. And I would like to say thank you to staff publicly for taking the extra time to meet with neighbors and residents over issues of concern for them. I hope all residents know our staff goes above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to taking care of issues and really listening to the residents, and Lieutenant Bredick and his staff did that with a group of residents since our last meeting. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ralph. Earl?
Yeah, I too attended the memorial. It was as usual. It was very good, very touching, and I think you did right by putting those 3 nurses into the memorial, because they did give their lives in the line of duty. I've only had one commission meeting with how some starts next week, but last Friday had a meeting with the Orange County, Riverside County 91 Freeway Commission. We meet 4 times a year, twice in Corona, twice in Orange. They gave an update on the first 7 weeks of the new 91 toll lanes that opened in March. They opened up 4,489 new accounts. That's the little transponder you get. They answered 93,936 calls on phone and computer. The highest traffic day on the whole deal for 7 weeks was 49,588 vehicles. That's going both directions. And they had, in the 7 weeks, they had 1,873,000 total trips since they reopened the 91 as a complete freeway. They've already had problems that they're trying to figure out is with all these new transponders and people trying to use the express lanes, they're having big jam ups where you get into the pay lanes, causing several minutes delay for everybody, and everybody's complaining about it, so they're trying to figure out how they're going to handle all that, but they were really overwhelmed with the amount of vehicles that they had use that in the first 7 weeks, because they had predicted 819,000, and it almost doubled that on that. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Berwin. Well, outside of all the shared community events, the week before, Councilmember Bash and myself, well, I got the history lesson. We attended the Norco Intermediate School and went through the history exhibit with all the students and gave them all certificates, and we had a good time. And those kids put a lot of work into that, so it was well worth it and well appreciated. Last week, Roger Grody, City Manager Andy Okoro, and myself went and visited a new business in town, WB Powell. They're over on Hartridge Avenue. It's a 40,000 square foot facility, approximately 60 employees, and welcomed them to Norco, and then we took a tour of their plant operations. And Steve, they were very complimentary of your staff, and we welcomed them to the city, and I think they felt that way. So a very positive response, and that's something that I'm glad that we keep on doing this, because that is such a great help. Tomorrow night, I have CDA board meeting, so nothing to report right now. But I'm going to change things a little bit around, make this a business item. We have concerts in the park coming up. And this Friday is yard sale, so I'm going to do the first one. And then the following week, or in 2 weeks, will be Crazy Kirk, and Berwin Hanna wanted to MC that show. And then I had a request for the Eagles tribute band by Councilmember Hoffman, whenever that comes up. So Robin and Kevin. I wasn't there, I don't remember. I may have been there, but I don't remember. Yeah, there'll be, I think 3 then, and we'll have to double up. But we'll let the 2 of you work it out, your choices. But at least this will get us through the first couple of weeks. And I think that's enough of, we've had plenty to do, and we have plenty more coming up for the next couple of weeks. Moving on, item to city council consent items. Does any members care to pull any?
I have some 2C and 2G.
C and G?
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the rest.
Council members Hannah?
Yes.
Grunmeyer?
Yes.
Bash?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Newton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Cheryl. Item 2C, Kevin?
More than anything, what I would like to get out to the public is that there's been some questions about where the city of Norco is investing their money. And there's a lot of confusion, and I don't think so much on our side, but what I want people to make sure that they know is that I believe that Gina and Andy are totally open, but you have to access them. And I think that what I would like to see is, when you get some spare time, but maybe in the next couple of months, what we're approving tonight, if we approve it, is a general policy in a way. But I'd like to maybe see something more specific, or I'm open to suggestions to how do we, when residents ask questions, what can we present them so that they're totally clear as to where the money's going. One of the big confusions is I don't want to say confusion, there's just, investing in the private sector is entirely different from investing in the public sector. So while there's a lot of the same names, people sometimes don't quite understand that they're apples to oranges, they just happen to be called Fannie Mae or Fannie Mae, whatever. And so, I don't know if I really want to do anything other than to make sure people know that my experience is that both of the staff in charge of this are very open to meeting with you. But maybe in the next couple of months, Andy, you might be able to put something together that talks about how we invest, or something you're comfortable with. What do you think?
Well, so you know, we present to the city council on a quarterly basis, quarterly investment report. The quarterly investment report is very comprehensive in that it shows every bit of every penny that the city has and where the monies are invested. Rather than having the next quarterly investment report as a consent calendar item, I suppose, we can have it discussed as a business item in that way that will give everybody an opportunity to ask questions pertaining to the city's investment portfolio.
I mean, the issue isn't, because I know where the money is going, it's the confusion is if you're in the private sector and the public sector, that's the confusion, the apples to oranges. And I think that's a great suggestion. The next time we're able to have an open discussion about exactly what part of that vehicle we're using to invest our money, how it differs from maybe the private sector. You know what I'm saying? And I think that would be a good solution.
That is actually the item before you tonight, which is approval of the city's investment policy.
Yeah, no, I get it, it's a policy, I understand.
And that policy lays out the parameters that the city must comply with respect to investing city funds. Clearly, we follow the requirements of the government code. And that government code says where you can invest, the percentage of your portfolio that you can invest in various securities. And when those requirements change, the policies are brought to you, and we make the necessary changes. Consistently, our investment portfolio has complied always with the requirements of that government code and the city's adopted investment policy. But again, I think the one issue that has been brought to my attention is the confusion between whether the city is invested in stocks versus fixed income security. Fannie Mae specifically, the city as a government entity, a public entity, is not allowed to invest in equity securities, meaning stocks. What the city has in its portfolio is a fixed income security bonds issued by the Federal National Mortgage Association. And those investments are guaranteed 100% by the full faith of the United States government. That means those are triple-rated investment instruments, and that has essentially no risk. The primary purpose of city investment is to ensure safety. That is the number one objective. The city public agencies are precluded from chasing returns on investment. What we do first and foremost is to make sure that the city's investment is secure, especially coming after Orange County bankruptcy many years ago. And the reason that happened was back then the government agencies were allowed to invest in some certain risky investment instruments that caused Orange County to actually lose a lot of money, and eventually had to declare bankruptcy for those practices. But again, next time we present our investment portfolio, I'll be glad to have more details.
So one of them, you brought us something very interesting. You used requirement policy at the same time, and one of the questions is that, well, these are just policies, we don't have to follow them. Which, and understand, you're singing to the choir. I'm doing this so that I can, I'm trying to get this out to the public to assure them that we have certain guidelines to follow. But requirement, policy, what is it in terms of these statutes in the state code and the federal code?
Again, we follow government code, state of California.
Are those requirements, laws, or just policies and guidelines?
Those are every local government, cities and public agencies are required to follow these codes with respect to how public funds are invested. There are no deviations from that, and part of what we go through as part of our annual audit process too is the independent auditors do verify to make sure that our investments do comply with the requirements of the government code. And when we bring this quarterly investment reports to you, we do show how those investments comply with the requirements of the code. Again, we'd like to have more detailed discussions on those when those come back to the city council. I think the next one will be coming to you in the month of July.
Right. Thank you, Andy. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to make a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Councilmembers Hannah?
Yes.
Grunmeyer?
Yes.
Bash?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Newton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Cheryl. Item 2G.
So I pulled out in anticipation that Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman would pull it, and that maybe Roger could speak to the point. So how do you want to do this, Ted?
No,
Yep.
I want to recap.
Yep, let us know.
Give, so everybody understands that, no, we weren't partying out in Vegas, because it's okay, that ain't my place to party.
You know what, you can't party there because you have to walk those rooms, which are miles and miles and miles. By the time the night's over, you're so tired you go right to bed.
Actually, this conference takes the joy out of Las Vegas. So just to recap quickly, and I do want to thank Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Bash for their efforts there. This conference is the largest gathering of retailers, shopping center developers, and commercial brokers in the world, 37,000 strong. This was the largest attendance since the Great Recession. Also, about 100 municipalities were present with their own exhibits, Norco being one of them. And I feel that we were extremely well received, and I think you all should be quite proud of the Norco booth, the exhibit, and the materials that we have available. In the past, when we've attended this, Silver Lakes has always been nothing more than a concept. We've talked a lot about it, but we had no reportable results. This year, we were able to report to these retailers and hotel developers that last year 750,000 people attended Silver Lakes events, and that this year over 1 million will, and that build out, that number will reach 3 million people. Those numbers are very persuasive, and it was clear in these meetings with especially hotel developers and operators that we have a very compelling story to tell. We did concentrate on hotel operators. We met with 9 or 10 different companies representing over 50 brands, and we were quite well received because of this strong story. People were intrigued. People realized that we had enough demand to satisfy probably 3 or 4 new hotels in town. And now it is up to staff to meet the challenge and act on those needs. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. The planning director and I met with 2 of those leads today, in fact. And so I think it was a very successful conference. It does cost a little bit of money to go, but I think that the relationships that are built at these and the dividends that are paid over time are invaluable. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Staff?
Go ahead,
Rob.
Roger, I had a couple of questions for you. At the end of the report, it talked about the relationship and transforming leads into commitments. So my question as the economic coordinator is, do you have timelines and some SMART goals set for those kind of commitments so that we're seeing a return on our investment for that particular conference?
It's a difficult question to answer. Many of these deals between the initial introduction and actual dirt being moved is probably 18 to 24 months typically. So economic development is a discipline where it requires a lot of patience, unfortunately. But these are leads that I'm confident some of them will be realized, and hopefully we'll be able to, at least on a biannual basis, bring you some updates where we can actually mention, names and actual sites. So I know that was not really an answer because it's difficult to establish an actual timeline, but I would say that certainly, within 12 months, we should have some, I would hope that we have some preliminary commitments from some of these parties that they would be coming to Norco. Many of them are very interested, and there are a lot of variables, of course, the economy, the fact that the hotel industry itself is in a, this is like the 7th year in a row of record activity, and that's not going to last forever. This was actually a very good year to go because This is kind of a perfect window of opportunity, not only for the industry, but for us with Silver Lakes, coming online.
Okay, the second question I have for you, obviously there's the draw with Silver Lakes for the hotels. What other kind of interest is there in Norco other than hotels so we can get some diversification?
The sit-down restaurant industry is not particularly well represented at this conference, but we did meet with a number of brokers who represent some of those organizations and we made the case for Norco. Not just part of it is Silver Lakes, obviously, but there's also a more organic demand that has grown. I believe there's a pent-up demand in Norco for sit-down dining opportunities. And those are leads that we will definitely be following up with. I would say our first priority was hotels, but we want to be aggressive in terms of dining opportunities as well. That clearly is something we need to complement not just visitors, but local residents. It's a great amenity for them. No reason you shouldn't have to leave town to have a good meal.
Thank you.
Ted?
I guess mine's more of a comment than a question, since I spent the week with Roger and Steve. I just want to compliment Roger and Kelly, and if we're not careful, some other cities are going to steal it. This was our driver, and you have to understand, score Norco, and they went and got the a TV for flat screen TV and showed soccer playing. I worked the booth last year, and just so you get an idea, so we're not out there just having a good time. We didn't get the traffic in that booth last year as we got this year. And the reason being is when you see a big screen like this behind us, and the fact that, that we use Silver Lakes, kind of, well, we hoard off of them, essentially. Our brochures are sitting there, shows the number of visitors coming through. But just so you understand, we did balance this out. You'll see Silver Lakes, but you also see 6th Street, and the horses are there. Because we knew when we went in there, we talked about this before we went in there, without the catch. And that's what we had to do. It's like using anything else. You got to use good bait to bring them in. And before, we had a nice display, nice collage of all the businesses and what we thought would be important to the hotels and to the restaurants, those service industries. It wasn't catching it. This caught it. And yeah, I was busy in the booth, but I enjoyed it. And what you're asked, Robin, is what do we have and what are we relying on? We went out there with an idea of taking 15 sites in the city of Norco that we were trying to promote and sell. The hardest problem we have, we don't own the land, very little of it. It's all owned by private property owners. So we're actually trying to be the middle guy and get these people in with these investors and these property owners to put these programs and these packets together. Some property owners are very appreciative. Others think they're on a gold mine and they're waiting for the platinum to come in, and that's just it. Some of them are unrealistic as to what they can get for the properties. So, but we got to keep doing it. You asked about restaurants, and when you sit there in the booth, you listen to a lot of people and you ask them, and Roger's right. What you and I, or some of our older generation, think of a sit-down restaurant isn't what the millennials are doing. And you have to understand the restaurant business. They're catering to those younger crowd because they're looking at that 30-year investment, a 10 or 30-year investment, and those millennials want something good food, they want it quick, or they take out, or they call it in and have it brought to their home. They're not into the sit-downs, and that's what's changing a lot of these service business and restaurant things. So that's, and I got that a lot from the people. But as far as Silver Lakes, I cannot tell you the number of people from the Midwest, these are cities, Midwest, up in the Northwest, up in Washington, that asked us, how the heck did you guys do this and pull this off? Having Silver Lakes and that complex, that big soccer complex, in your little city. So it is, we could be proud of ourselves what we did in the council before us, and they're looking at this thing. So just an idea, and I wasn't going to steal away from your storm, but I do want to, at the end of the meeting, I'm probably going to bring something up because we need to work on 6th Street also. So I'll bring it up later in the meeting about that. Thank you.
I just have a couple comments. Restaurants will come. Restaurants will come with hotels. Our goal there, I mean, this is just my credo, generate business that protects and fosters the lifestyle of Norco, does not impact it, i.e. leave money and leave. We specifically went after hotels. One of the things Andy and I have talked about is looking for things that are high impact. A restaurant, a good restaurant, will not generate very much money for a city, but it will be attracted by the hotel. One of the things we're encountering, and it's just a fact, is that all the negative publicity, nobody wanted to buy property in Norco. Now when they want to buy it, it's 5 times as much as it was before, but we are overcoming that. There's been a lot of interest already in the city of Norco, which is proprietary, in which hotels have tried to buy certain pieces of land and restaurants, but they want so much money for it, they just move on to the next. Disney was a classic example. That's a project 6 years in the making. The thing about the question to Roger, and that's something that's really tough, because when you're doing that and trying and making these connections, I mean, believe it or not, we went to several places. Roger organized it very well, and Steve. The most important meeting lasted 30 seconds. That was a handshake. And we can't really yet talk about it because we don't know where it's going, but you just never know when you're talking to these people what's going to happen. In terms of what I look at, in terms of what Roger's doing, is you talk about diversification. 6 years ago, we had no diversity in the city at all. Now we have Hobby Lobby, Tractor Supply. Berwyn brought us Tractor Supply. We never know where these things are going to come from. But what I look at more than anything is I look at this annual report. And basically what's happened is for the last 3 years, we had a banner year, one of the best years we've ever had 3 years ago, and we have topped it every single year. So I think the criteria to know what's happening basically is the cold, hard, what is happening in terms of, I mean, we've got the Stater Brothers being put in, the new one. We have another development that's happening. There's a bunch of developments in town, and for me, that is the proof in the pudding. The difference between the last time we went and the time we went this time is exactly what Ted said, is we had really nothing to sell. But at the same time, the leads from that, some of those are just now bearing fruition in terms of people trying to figure out ways to get Norco. We ran into people, one huge restaurant that is desperately trying to get into Norco, but we don't know how to help them do that. So until we figure those things out. But I thought it was really successful. We'll find out probably in 6 months to a year just how successful. One of the things that I would recommend whoever goes next year is that we don't consolidate. Some cities consolidated their booths, so you'd have 8, 9, 10 cities. We visited, and in our opinion, what happened is it just mushed everybody together. I think that our booth was really well received, and the truth is, you know who made the booth was the television and Ted. I mean, Ted's like the Energizer Bunny. He's up and down. I keep saying his knee is bad, but every time we went there, he's like, you know, handing out the stuff we had to hand out, and so I think he did a terrific job. And then the other side of that is I got to see another side of our city manager. And our city manager, we had RJ Brandis, who went with us for a day. And Andy and RJ really worked well together in terms of just selling Norco in a very low-key and positive way, and it was really outstanding, so I want to commend you. RJ, you know, because he's got this huge project he's sitting on, is like an elephant, but Andy and him were able to work together very well, and I was very impressed by that. So anyway, that's all I have to say, and thank you to you guys, and Kelly, of course, she's phenomenal.
So My only comments, Roger, are that on this item, looking at the costs expended, and that I think are very competitive numbers, and that if you and Steve already today were able to make contact and tour the city with a prospective developer, right with that, that's money well spent. And the other judge, and maybe this is just kind of my opinion, Robin, sometimes the economic development is hard to gauge, but one of those gauges also is our per capita spending. And that this last quarter, that I believe at per capita we're like $5,500, which is way above county average and state average. So even though it's at a plateau, I think it's a much better number than that we see locally. So it makes me feel we're headed in the right direction, but not going to cut you any slack, Roger. Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Council members Hannah.
Yes.
Grunmeyer.
Yes.
Bash.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman.
Yes.
Mayor Newton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 4, public comments. Any cards, Cheryl?
Yes, Mayor.
Maybe call the first one.
Yes, first speaker is Justin DeWell from Assemblymember Shavantes' office.
Good evening, Justin.
Evening, Mayor, City
How are you?
Council. Good to be here. First of all, just want to extend congratulations to Norco High School softball team and Miss Taylor Dawkins. Our office has been following them closely, and it's an amazing achievement. So, moving on to legislative affairs. It's been very busy up in Sacramento. Last week was the deadline to pass bills out of the House of Origin. So 8 of Assemblymember Cervantes' bills were passed on the Assembly floor and have moved on to the Senate. And I'll just mention a few of them that I don't think I've mentioned much here at City Council. Her bill in the AB 91, which would make carpool lanes in Riverside County open to all vehicles during off-peak hours, that passed on the Assembly floor. 162, which would make more small businesses eligible for a tax cut through the California Competes tax program. That passed on the Assembly floor. AB 193, which would allow applicants to obtain a rebate of up to $1,800 for purchasing a used eligible high-efficiency vehicle. That passed on the Assembly floor. As well as AB 410, which addresses the teacher shortage that we have in our region and throughout the state by prohibiting local educational agencies from charging prospective teachers any fee for participating in training that's required for them to obtain their credential. And finally, AB 1618 passed on the Assembly floor. That would create a process to certify nonprofit organizations that provide services to veterans and create a competitive grant process for those organizations. So those are just a few, if you have any further questions, please get in touch with us, get in touch with me. So.
Can we ask him a question afterwards or whatever?
I think afterwards we.
Cell sites?
Oh.
Yeah, let's go ahead and if we have any questions for you, we'll do it afterwards.
Sure.
Otherwise, yeah, it's public comments. Appreciate the updates, always.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Overstreet.